On my jog this morning, a bug flew into my eye. So for the next 3 miles, everyone who passed me thought I was crying.
Worked 4 16-hour days in a row. In the words of Donna Summer, she works hard for the money.
Yes, she does. You know what I want to know? How does a national drugstore chain not carry a toilet plunger?
Well, I've been trying to get my car washed for over a month. Instead, I've resigned to drive in filth.
Have such a good day. Oh, hello.
Hey, how is everyone doing today?
We didn't see you there. Where did everybody come from? Wow, there's so many of you.
Welcome.
One might say an army.
Maybe so, or maybe a...
Growing all the time. Unlike on Game of Thrones, our army is growing.
How many people do you think they lost? Like 50%? Or maybe more?
Supposedly, well, no spoilers.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Okay. Many wonderful soldiers.
Without spoiling anything, people are aware on Game of Thrones that people die.
I feel like at this point, it's okay to spoil because, I mean, if you're going to be on the internet, you're going to accidentally see spoilers. At this point, I feel like if you haven't watched it, I'm not sure what's going on in your life.
Well,
it's time to watch.
I've got a cousin who she shout out to you, Malls, who for a long time was just like, I don't know. I heard like a lot of animals die on the show. I'm just not into it. It just doesn't sound like my kind of show. Mm-hmm. It's brutal. And I was like, well, you would be right. Mm-hmm. And if that's gonna, I mean, I don't like it.
Well, they don't actually die. It's just part of the narrative.
It's the story.
Yeah.
But it's a show of death.
Yes, it is. I mean,
everybody dies. So, and so for a few years, in fact, it's funny, and not to get off on too much of a tangent, but a few years ago, there was a penultimate episode where it was, like everyone on the internet had a meltdown about this particular Game of Thrones episode called The Red Wedding. And my cousin Molly and I were in New York. We were staying at a friend of mine's tiny little studio in Manhattan over in the West Village. She, graciously let us stay there, and she didn't have a TV. Mm-hmm. And so I watched the episode on my iPad because I had to. It was a Sunday night. And Molly was like, and she was like up in the loft, where the bed was. And I'm down, in the dark, downstairs being like, oh my God, and she was like after a while, she's like, are you like really freaking out that much? And I'm like, yes, I am really freaking out that much. And, like with my little iPad in the dark. And she was just like, see, I just don't need that in my life. Well, she's catching up now, but she's a couple seasons behind because it's going to take a while.
But is she glad that she took the plunge?
Yeah.
She loves it?
Well, I mean, she's committed.
See, that's the problem with like things that are this big of a pop cultural phenomenon. It's like if you don't jump on the bandwagon, you're kind of like there's this huge thing that is happening. It's hard to relate. Anyway.
Weird. I just got an email from her. That
is weird.
Universe.
Welcome everybody to the show
Yeah. Hi.
Hi,
for real, and welcome.
Two little ladies who unpack the absurdity of everyday life for
sure
our
do.
Collective entertainment.
That's right. We are trying to help you have such a good day and a better day, perhaps.
We should have called it "Have Such a Great Day." I mean,
I don't know.
There's a good ring to good.
Yeah, I like it. I've always liked the name of our show.
Me too.
And like we said last time, you're not having the best day yet. Because, we need to strive for something.
Yes,
We're all having such a good day on that ladder to the best day ever.
I love it.
Which may happen at some point. I don't know. No one really knows when. But I'm Sarah Lane. This is Heather Frank.
That's me.
We're in my living room. We're chilling
with a bunch of animals.
We've got a dog and a cat. They may make cameos as they want to do.
It's a Sunday fun day, really.
Yeah, we're
rosé.
Shooting this on a Sunday. Got a little afternoon rosé. NBA playoffs are in full swing. So I've been very excited because this is one of my favorite times of year. So yeah,
are you more excited?
So
you're more excited about basketball than baseball? Like, is that your favorite sport to watch? And
quite honestly, if somebody said held a gun to my head and said choose one sport, it would probably be baseball because baseball is like a lifestyle.
Yeah, a little more nostalgic. Probably.
It also basketball lasts a really long time, but baseball is just it meanders along. And they're just so different. I love to go to a baseball game. It's one of my very favorite things in the whole world. And it's partly about the game and partly about community and food.
Oh yeah, definitely. And beer.
And nachos and beer and the sun. Or, you know, sometimes it's cold and dark. But basketball is just more exciting. It just is.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting game. And, you know, it turns out that my team has been like the best team for about 5 years in a row now. So, you know, it's
very exciting.
It's hard not to, you know.
I enjoy a basketball
We're
game.
that team that the rest of the country hates, but you know what? Y'all can go fuck yourselves.
I actually watched some of the Warriors game on Friday at the hotel.
And
at
it
the hotel
was
at the
very
airport.
exciting game.
I will apologize in advance. I'm coming off of an extremely long work week, and I'm telling you, like me and my partner, who I was working with, we literally had moments where we were like blank, and someone was filling in blanks because our brains had been so crushed from the week. Not even kidding.
Sleep deprivation.
Totally sleep. I mean, I don't think I got.
I mean, it's not something that you can like you can't overcome it.
No, you
when
can't.
you have it, you're going to start going loopy.
It was like 3 to 5 hours a night. Like it was crazy. And we'll talk more about that later in the show, but I wanted to plug our bonus topic.
Let's hear it.
For $5 and above, you get to hear us talk about some other topic that we don't talk about in the regular show. Today we're going to talk about, I don't know, like what's the proper vocabulary that you should use in the workplace, but in, you know, the 21st century in 2019. Let's talk about that. Let's break it down.
Okay,
Let's unpack it.
We're in a modern era.
Yeah.
The era of Me Too.
Yep.
Some people like to, you know, that's a term that I think we're all, whether or not, whatever side of the fence you might be on, or maybe you're on the fence. We recognize that there is kind of a terminology that has evolved and continues to evolve. So we'll unpack that a little bit more.
It'll be kind of a fun one, slightly different than the usual. Anyway, how's your week been, Sarah?
It's been good. I know you were out of town working your tush off, and I was working too, but it was somewhat of a mundane week in the sense that it was business as usual. Nothing terrible happened. I did have you mentioned your car being super dirty. So my car that is only a couple of months old is black. Never had a black car before. And in fact, when my mom came to visit, she was like, oh my God, this is the most impractical color, which is just like straight from my dad. And that's true. Black cars get real dirty real quick, and you know, they need to be cared for.
My white car is so dirty right now. I don't know. I think they both get super dirty.
Totally.
Yeah.
And black cars look so cool at night. But anyway.
I prefer a black car.
Well, so my car is black, and it was real dirty, and not just on the outside. I'm also near a it's somewhat very lively construction site, so there's just dust, and I park on the street. It's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
But the inside of my car, because I hadn't gotten this sort of dog hammock thing for the back seat, which I now have in the back seat, but so Otis would just be like dirty after running around at the dog park and be in the back seat, and it was dirty.
I bet.
So I go to the car wash yesterday, and I go at like noon on a Saturday, which is so dumb. I mean, shout out to me for being stupid. But I did, because I was like, I've got an hour, I'm doing this. Like, the car will be washed today. So I go in there, you know, you give them the keys, and you go inside to pay. And she was like, give us your phone number, and we'll call you, because I assume that you'll just go somewhere and then come back later. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how long is this going to take? And she was like, hour to an hour and a half. And
No
I was like,
way.
what are you talking about? I just like...
This is the one right down the street?
Yeah,
the
one,
kind of neat sign.
The one that's on the corner. Yeah. And I was like, what? I mean, there were like 4 cars in front of me. I mean, it's sort of an assembly line, right? You figure you might be there for 20 minutes.
Sure.
Or
yeah,
something
maybe
like that.
30 max.
Maybe 30. Yeah, you know, you look at your phone for a minute. No, not at this car wash, not on a Saturday. So I was like, well, I don't want to leave. Like, I'm going to leave on foot. And, you know, there was like a burrito place across the street, but I had eaten. So I'm like, crap. I really should have thought this through a little bit better. So I sat there for almost an hour and a half.
Wow.
And there were, you know, they had a bunch of like little, like, I don't know, not lawn chairs, but chairs, like outdoor chairs outside. And everybody was doing the same thing I was doing. And we were all kind of grumbling to each other about like, well, why do we all do this on a Saturday? Meh, you know, like, what a bunch of nerds. So it was kind of fun. And I had, you know, I have the internet on my phone, so all was not lost. And they did a real good job. And they got they got a real good tip. Oh, good. Yeah. It was as if my car was new.
You had cash on you to give them tip?
Well, I got it inside when I
Okay,
paid.
good.
Yeah,
Good
got
for
a
you.
little cash back. Oh, they're sure to let you know that tips will be in cash.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like cash back? And I was like, nah, it's cool. Just put it on the. She's like, no. It'll be cash. And I was like, got it. But hey, you're working outside in the sun. I'm very, very appreciative. So all in all, it was a good experience. Would go again, not on a Saturday at noon though.
Well, it's funny because I rolled by it today, and I mean, I desperately need one. As I mentioned, wouldn't go on the weekend. Maybe even Monday morning might not be a good idea. Maybe like just sometime in the middle of the day during the week. I'm just never going to have a chance. And in
I think
fact,
Monday morning would probably be a
it would
good
be
idea.
good?
Yeah,
Okay.
because who's doing that
everyone's
in the
rushing to
morning?
work.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually tried to wash my own car in my driveway like about 2 weeks ago. It was really hard. And I know that sounds dumb, but it's like you really have to be diligent about, you have to rinse it in a certain amount of time before the sun dries it, because it'll dry the drips. It gets spotty, and then you have to dry it, because if you don't dry it, I mean, it's actually quite an art. Like, it's not that easy to wash your car at home. You have to have like there's a real step-by-step thing. Anyway, I totally failed. I mean, it was actually kind of hilarious. I was like, this is just ridiculous anyway. So I had a really, it was funny because we kind of thought that, I had this job this week.
Yeah.
I went up to work for Uber for the big, them going public on Friday. So this was essentially, you won't believe it, we produced 1,400 videos. And this is over about a month and a half, because I was only brought on at the end for like some fresh eyes, because they were on the road. And it was like an international thing. They shot in 12 different cities. It was in 6 different languages. So it's full on localization production. So it's like you've got SRT files. I don't know if you're familiar with those. This is the Premiere files for captions. A whole different animal, super difficult to work with on a lot of levels. We had a bunch of editors coming in and out. Really kind of an exciting but crazy week. I thought for sure I'd get out and get a blue bottle coffee, like a fancy San Francisco coffee, or get a cocktail like 2 blocks away. Didn't do any of that. It was around the clock. We almost slept there. In fact, one of the guys I worked with he stayed up all night. He pulled a 36-hour. I mean, it was crazy, but it was like, in the end,
It hurts. It
really hurt. And in the end, though, it was funny on Friday. So we just kind of went to the airport early. We were there at least 3 hours earlier and got comfy at the bar, watched the Warriors game, had some drinks. And, I think you feel the same way, but I love a good airport bar.
Oh, I love an airport bar, because you hear everyone's going somewhere.
Yeah, everyone's going
they're
somewhere.
coming or they're going. Well, they're usually going. It's a little weird if you're hanging out at the airport bar after you've reached your destination, but no judgment. But and some people are like going somewhere cool.
Yeah.
They're going on vacation.
Or they just came.
You
So
know?
it's so funny. It's like those, you have like these really warm and intimate conversations with people you don't know, like at the bar, because you're like, yeah, man, cheers. Like, how was your week been? And then you learn about these randos. There was a woman who, the first thing that happened was, I love these sort of like airport adventures that, you witness strangers doing weird things. This woman, I don't know how she got through TSA, but she was screaming obscenities into her phone. She wasn't a street person. Something was definitely off. She tried to get on this flight to Maui. I mean, everyone was just like watching
she obviously
her.
had a ticket somewhere.
Yeah, she got through TSA.
Yeah.
But that was a whole scene that started us off.
Do you
we were
think
having
it
a
was
great time.
alcohol related?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like
I've seen people go sideways, like where like they're escorted out of an airport
she got
bar.
escorted for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and honestly,
It always seems to be drunk.
Yeah,
or something.
drugs possibly.
Yeah, something that is mind altering to the point where you just like can't help
Yeah,
yourself.
and she was oblivious. There were so many people like around her. Like she was covering a lot of like ground. It was really amusing. And then like, just like I met this guy that just went to the Kentucky Derby, and he was like offering some of his fish and chips. Like it was just like this sort of like thing. And then there was like a fancy guy drinking like Moscow mules on the other side. A Google I/O guy, who just got back. He was like a kind of a nerd. I mean, it was just like,
really? Yeah, don't say.
He was wearing a hoodie. Anyway, it was just my point is, I love sitting in an airport bar. I love observing the scene, and I also love doing it after a super long week and you're on your way home.
Yeah.
And it was just a nice ending to like a crazy week. It was a good week. It was nice to be in the thick of something so big.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
exciting, for sure. And to produce 1,400 videos was quite a feet.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I'm proud of myself.
Within a week's time, that's insanity. It
was
doesn't
a little
even
more than
really
a week,
compute
but-
in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. I have a friend American friend who lives in Amsterdam now. And she used to live in San Francisco, as did we. And we still have mutual friends who live there. And we're on like a group text. And she was like, so what's the whole Uber IPO vibe? You know, and one of my friends up there who really should know better, but whatever. I don't know. Maybe she had a busy week. She was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, and I was like, I can tell you because as a tech reporter, I've been reporting on this damn thing for like the last year since we knew that, you know, that this day was coming. But yeah, I mean, it's funny from what I don't know. I don't want to get too into tech, but it's like these sorts of like anybody who's like, what's an IPO? Initial public offering. That's where you get listed on a stock market. It was the New York Stock Exchange in this case. Under the name Uber, and it makes very few people extremely rich. It's sort of like, you know, the rich, the middle class, and the poor, right? The rich get way richer. The middle class, if you're lucky, you get a little something, you get a little kickback. The poor get nothing.
What about the drivers?
Well, they're in the poor category in this case.
And they were out front picketing during the time we were producing these videos. It was
Sure.
an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, there's a lot. And you know, this is not just an Uber issue. Ride-hailing services all over the world, and there are ride-hailing services in certain countries that we don't even have here. So, well aware that there's a lot going on. But it's all this kind of shared economy thing where you and I are like, what would we do without Uber? It's changed our lives. It's great. You know, I use it all the time, But at the same time, you know, you talk to enough drivers and you realize that there's a lot of bitterness and strife.
Absolutely.
And like rampant inequality and unfairness. So that's my little soapbox that I'll just go ahead and step off of now.
Thanks, Sarah. I ironically took a lift home, you know, when I got back to the airport. So
Right,
had an interesting conversation with that guy.
F you, Uber. Thank you for the job. So I've talked in the past about how I walk everywhere if possible. Luckily, two of my favorite grocery stores are within several blocks of where we are right now. You know, there's a farmer's market down the street. There's great coffee in every direction. I don't need to drive to live my life at all for all the things that I need for the most part. You know, and there's, you know, I mentioned at the top of the show that there was not a toilet plunger at a very large drugstore chain near me. And that is a true story. Luckily, there are a couple other drugstore chains. So all was not lost.
Gotta get in the car.
Sarah's toilet now works fine. We'll just leave it at that. But, you know, you still just sort of shake your head like, how are you not carrying this thing that would be so obvious to carry here?
That is odd.
Well, you carry like stuff to clean your toilet. Why would a plunger not be part of that pack?
It's on like a little more of a hardware store level, I feel like, which is weird because I don't know why.
No, I do. Well, I mean,
what about Vaughn's?
I didn't actually check there, to be honest
bet
with
they probably
you.
won't have. Well,
I didn't actually check there. Yeah, now I feel a little silly, but I don't know. It's sort of a drugstore thing. But my point is that I like to buy things in person. It's just the way that I am.
Even a plunger?
Anything. No, it's not, you know, national chains, not so much, but if there is a mom and pop hardware store that would have a plunger,
those, yeah.
You know, I want to go in and get that. There was a pet store at my old place on the other side of town that you know, it was somewhat inconvenient for me to go and like always get my cat food there. And friends of mine would be like, our minds are blown. Why are you not getting this on Amazon? And I'm like, because I like Bruno's. I like the people who work there. They're nice. You know, they need my money more than Amazon does. Anyway, I've kind of dropped that whole argument because I am becoming somebody who the convenience of life is outweighing, you know, my good Samaritan feelings inside. Not always, but most of the time I'm like, you know what? You just got to buy stuff online.
I just brought up a package from Amazon.
You did. And it was some coffee filters, which are like the special kind, but also just cheaper.
Yeah.
I know they're cheaper
totally,
than...
you buy them in bulk.
Buy them in bulk, and they're just, overall, they're just cheaper, and I'm a Prime member, so it all makes sense to me. But it's funny because there are certain things that, as I continue to start buying things online, and I'm like, ow. So if I get all my cat food, cat litter, dog food, dry food, wet food, all that stuff from Chewy.com rather than Amazon, because it's not always about Amazon. No. Oh, I'm going to save like $10 each order. Like, I'll just do that. So I'm starting to get the hang of what other people have known for a long time. The irony is not lost on me. I've been a holdout and whatever. And I don't want to like go on and on about this because I know a lot of people are like, okay, Sarah, well,
welcome to the world.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of us have been doing for a long time. And it's not that I didn't know what was going on. It's like I was like almost like relishing in doing it the harder way. Mm-hmm. And you know how sometimes people are like, oh no, there's an easy way. And you're like, I don't care. This is my way.
You're kind of like set in your ways.
Yeah, like I want to do it the way that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But there are also things that, for example, buying makeup. You're like, oh, I don't want to go to a department store right now. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. So yesterday, it came to my attention as it's sort of built up over several months that I need new bras. Mm-hmm. They don't last forever.
They sure don't.
Elastic, like on any other garment, will fail you eventually.
A piece of my bra fell off last week because I only brought one, and it was some tough long days, so piece fell off. I'm not kidding. Was it
an important piece?
No, it was like a little metal kind of little sort of an embellishment that I think had like the labels, brand, flower on it. I don't know. Well, it's kind of cute, but it's gone.
Well, Heather, I've got good news for you.
Ooh.
You get lots of bras on Amazon. Now there's a certain style, and I don't want to get too into what kind of bras I wear, but there's a certain brand and style that I've been buying for years. It's just, it's just kind of every day. Mm-hmm. Nothing crazy, nothing special. No one's gonna be like, whoa, cool bra, but fits and works. And they've got it on Amazon. Have I ever thought about that before yesterday? No, I haven't. I just was like, oh my God, do I have to go to Nordstrom today? I'd rather die. And so I was just sort of like wearing these bras. So sure enough, I was like, you know what? Now that I'm all in this Amazon life of mine, let's just put this brand into Amazon and see what comes up. Sure enough, the bras are there, and they're less than what they would be if I bought them in person somewhere, like, of course, weird in like Sherman Oaks or wherever I'd have to go. So I bought 5 bras yesterday.
Amazing. You have to tell me what brand you use.
I will. I think you actually know, but I'll remind you
That's
later
really
on.
cool. In fact, the only thing I would sometimes be concerned about when I buy stuff like that on Amazon is like if they're knockoffs. But for the most part, you can find in the reviews, they might say, "Oh, this doesn't seem like the real thing," kind of thing. There has been, but I think Amazon's gotten better with that. I think there was a time where it was like, "Is this the real product?" Because sometimes things arrive not in boxes, and I'm always like, this is fishy, like a lotion or whatever it is, and it doesn't have its proper box, or like that kind of thing. So, but I'm sure it's fine, and everything is cheaper on Amazon for the most part. So good for you.
Yeah, it was just kind of like I had a moment where I kind of had to chuckle and be like, I mean, this has been on my to-do list, continuing to not get crossed off for months.
Do you feel like you're fully transformed now?
Well, I haven't gotten the bras yet. They arrive tomorrow.
No, I mean, are you fully like on the bandwagon of Amazon Prime?
And again, Amazon is not the only place, but it's a sort of like online shopping. There's a certain kind of running shoe where I'm like, I know my size. Yeah. I know what I like. I don't need to go somewhere and like try them on. It's like, I'm down with the simplification of all of this.
Yeah.
Where I think that I was proudly overcomplicating things before with the best of intentions.
I like that you have this dichotomy of like being super high tech in certain ways about a lot of things that a lot of people aren't high tech about, but like it's taken you this long to like get here. And I think it's interesting.
And to top it all off before we move on, I go to a retail in-person establishment and there's no toilet plunger. Should have gotten on Amazon. Would have been here by now.
You live and you learn. In fact,
Yeah.
I went to my first Amazon Go little shop, little
Oh,
bodega. I don't know if you've been to those yet.
I haven't. No, we
talked about it on the show.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the model.
It's funny. That was the only place I went to really, like the only brick and mortar place I went to this whole week, like to get a snack. Because it was like 2 doors down.
It was Amazon Go.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
And it is kind of funny.
I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. Like I thought I'd go to all kinds of places.
Did you find it seamless? Did you like the experience? It was cool.
Great. It was so great. And then the guy I took with me was just like, I don't understand. Like how? Like
you just walk out
and you just grab. But you like the fact that you grab this item and that item is connected with your barcode, and then you go out. It's like, it's brilliant and it's cool. They've got people at the front. Really nice. They go, you got the app? Are you cool? Like they'll show you where to go in your app real quick.
Yeah.
It's super seamless. It's super, I wonder, I saw an article about a lot of stuff going to waste from like these stores. I hope they have I don't know, some way of making these products go to homeless people or people in need at the end of the day if they don't sell them. Because there's a lot of to-go food like that's fresh.
Well, that wouldn't be any different than any other grocery store.
I hope not. I'm not sure what they do, but I'm going to look into it because I care about that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Anyway, hey, Sarah, do you remember, speaking of like attendance, do you remember those bathroom attendants when we go to a club or concert and you go in there, you go to the bathroom, you come out and they offer you a paper towel.
Sure.
And they've got all the candy and the mints and the hair things and
ran into some recently, in fact. I wasn't clubbing, but I don't know, wherever I was, there was an attendant. Yeah.
Like a nice hotel or whatever. I mean, they still exist, but they're definitely going away, which makes sense.
Depends on what country you're in.
That's true. And also, you know,
in the US, few and far between.
I think so. It's kind of rare unless I'm in like a nice-ish hotel. I feel like that type of, you know, we're talking about cashlessness. You know, I know that you and I don't carry a lot of cash. I personally don't like carrying cash. It takes up a lot of room, especially coins. It's dirty. You know, I like
it's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. I really like just having my cards, but the feeling I get when I'm at, you know, a car wash in a place like that, like in a nice hotel, in a bathroom where someone hands me a paper towel, you feel so bad. You don't have $1 on you. You know, doorman, you know, any of these places, like a manicurist, for example, a lot of times they urge you to use cash. But you know, I can see how these people would be really disgruntled, you know, like, well, this is a bummer. The entire society doesn't even carry cash anymore. I'm making less money because I work off tips, cash tips, you know? And I know that we've talked about this on the show before. I know that you have strong opinions about this. But I have a lot of sympathy for people who make a lot of their income on, you know, cash tips. Well, and I'm sad for them.
I jokingly say all the time, ban cash, because I hate cash. I hate bills. I hate coins.
Pennies are the worst.
Nickels
are starting to be annoying.
However, I understand that for a variety of reasons, which are obvious and we don't have to go into at length here because we've talked about it in the past, but there are really legitimate reasons why people use cash rather than some sort of, you know, more easily trackable, what we would call convenient, but possibly not convenient for them, you know, type of transaction. So because of that, I don't actually think that cash should be banned. And I know that something like an Amazon Go store is problematic. And in fact, Amazon has already said that they're looking into figuring out how they're not, it's not just because Amazon's like, oh, we're like a friendly company. It's like, it's actually, you know, sort of a legal problem for them because you can't, you know, like keep a swath of the population out of a store and just be like, oh, you're a cash person? Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And they also want to make money. So they're looking into figuring out how the store can exist, but also be able to
interesting
to help folks that, you know, are off the grid, so to speak.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, you know, times are changing.
Yes, they are. You know, it was funny when I was at when I was at the national drugstore chain that didn't have a toilet plunger, they had lots of other things that I needed anyway. And I had been on this long walk with my dog, and I take everything out of, like, I have this little fanny pack, you know, that I use like for his leash and just, you know, my phone and whatever, while I'm walking. And I take everything out of it before I start walking, because sometimes I'm jogging and it's like the fewer things in there, the fewer things that are jiggling. My wallet was one of them, because when I left in the morning, I didn't think about, I'm going to go to the drugstore like at the tail end of this, you know, hour plus that I'm going to be out and about. So I get, you know, up to the register and I was like, oh, fuck. Do you guys take Apple Pay? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. You know, like, because I was going to just be like, it's not far away. I was going to be like, all right, let me run home and I'll be back. Can you just like put my stuff to the side? Yeah. And you feel so stupid. And you know that like part of them is like, she'll never come back.
Totally.
But yeah,
that's funny.
Apple
That's
Pay
a total win.
Saved my ass.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, real quick, if you don't know where to find us, we are on patreon.com/have such a good day. That's all I will say. Go check it out. But I would like to mention and shout out a couple new patrons.
Yeah, let's do it.
Nicole Holman Rad, who's a friend of mine who lives in Montpellier, France.
Nicole, what up?
Elijah Drenner. Jeff, I might hack your last name, but he actually wrote us a sweet note. Biasideki? I'm sure I'm hacking that.
Biasideki.
Yeah, Biasideki.
Yeah.
And Vince
cool
Power,
last name, by the way.
Very cool. Vince Power upgraded to $5 bala. Welcome.
Vince Power with the power. You're like He-Man. Assuming you're a man. I don't know. Vince would be a cool name for a girl.
I agree.
Actually.
I agree. I like that.
Like just something like where people are like,
yo, Vince.
Is that really your name? Yeah, and she could be like, yeah, it's short for Vincenza.
Well, I also really like V as a nickname.
Yeah.
Like, hey, V. Like, I call my sister Vanessa V.
Yeah.
It's a good nickname.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My cousin Martin and his wife Becca have a daughter Vivian, which was our grandmother's name, and they call her Vivi, or V.
Super cute nickname.
It's just V is a cool first letter for a name,
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, so Heather, I don't think we've talked about my dating volleys in a couple of episodes.
I've been waiting with bated breath. And I'm sure everyone else has.
It's by design, and I have kind of complicated feelings about this, because it's like I don't want to put anybody on blast, because that's just rude. Like whether or not they hear it, it's like it's not my intention to be like, let me tell you about this shitty date I had last night, but I just in the greater scheme of things, the grander scheme, because I know that certainly the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of you is, some of you are in the same boat as me, and there are some shared experiences that we have, and some of it is just, it's so entertaining. Even if I have a bad date, it's like there's so much entertainment I get out of that bad date. It's kind of like going to like a bad resort on vacation where you're like, okay, I'll never do this again. But like I got some stuff out of this. It's a learning experience. And that, so all is not lost.
Well, most of like the bad experience it says often like change you like more than good experiences.
Absolutely. And it's all kind of like, put hair on your chest or however you want to say it. It's like, I just have to laugh about a lot of this stuff sometimes. I just find the whole thing funny at this point, and that's probably says something about the people that I've been dating over the last years, where I'm just laughing at all these horrible people. But no, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to point out that I've noticed recently. For example, the idea that you might kind of meet somebody online. This is all kind of online dating, because that's the only way I meet people these days, because I'm just sitting in my office the rest of the time. Otherwise, like, how am I going to meet anybody? Maybe at the drugstore looking for a toilet plunger. It didn't happen this morning.
That would be sexy.
Wouldn't that be nice? But so it's like, you kind of, you might chat back and forth enough to the point where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable to meet you. And a lot of times, because at that point, whether or not you're a love match, you might follow each other on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Maybe you talk about that, or, they'd seem clever or whatever. And it's a little bit of a polite thing to do. And you don't have to, certainly. But I've definitely, someone will follow me and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll like politely follow him back. And then what I've noticed, like, because you don't get notifications when somebody unfollows you. Like, let's say it doesn't go anywhere. Well, somebody, shall remain nameless, it's a male, has now followed me like 4 times on Instagram.
What do you mean 4 times?
Meaning that he's also unfollowed me 3 times. Because there was the first follow, and then you get the second follow, which means there was an unfollow.
What a dummy. What's going on there?
Well, he's not a dummy. I think he's just sort of like, maybe there's sort of like there might be some momentum here. Screw this girl.
Yeah, and then
maybe there's some
happening.
momentum here. I'm no longer mad at Sarah for not hanging out with me that day. And then I unfollow. And I actually at one point to somebody that, and again, big picture, not calling out anybody specifically. I had said to somebody at one point, like, how many times are you gonna unfollow me? And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, can't fool old Sarah. I do this for a living.
Did you say
I'm
it
a
like
detective.
That?
Well, we weren't on the phone, but I mean,
that would have been cute.
That was the message that I sent over text. Just like, I'm not mad. I'm just like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
I can see this. Like,
what did he say?
I understand how this works. I don't know. He just kind of, there was some emojis and the conversation ended. But it's just sort of stuff like that where you're like, it's almost like somebody forces you to think about them by doing something like that, which is very innocuous, really. You can follow and unfollow whoever you want. Like, I'm not trying to like live anybody's life for them, but it's just some of that behavior, you almost want to roll your eyes and just be like, it's just funny. It's just funny. Like the way that these things kind of, play out.
Oh, it's hilarious. I mean, that's why there's so many movies about this kind of thing.
Totally. And then
so much fodder.
Again, before we move on, because it's just, dating. Oh, God. It could be, I should write a book.
You really should.
I really should. Or start a blog, or I don't know. Maybe I'll get Tumblr all fired back up or something. But, another thing that I've noticed that I find really fascinating is, and this actually, it goes back to a conversation we had last week, because we got that real nice email about how she liked us swearing, right? And it was Elodie. Hi, Elodie. And Elodie was like, yeah, it's kind of refreshing. And I don't offend easily. Well, it depends on what you say, but like that kind of thing does not offend me. And I hung out with somebody recently, cool dude, cool dude. We'll leave it at that. And he was a real F-bomber. And I wasn't surprised, because we had sort of gone back and forth enough that I kind of got the vibe already. And I found it totally refreshing, because then I'm like, oh, I can also relax. Like we're just kind of talking, we're being real bare bones about this. But I also was like, what was it about me that made you think, you know what, she can handle this? I can tell that she'll be able to handle this. Like, what was that? Because there are people who would be turned off by that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even if they wouldn't be down the road, they would be right away, because it'd be like, first date etiquette, like you don't like just like, wham.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Kind of thing.
You feel it out.
Yeah, you feel it out. And it's like, I didn't ask. I wasn't like, what is it about me that makes you want to swear? but I thought it, and I don't know what the answer is. I think it's probably just like good vibes.
So did you return with a lot of F-bombs, or you just kind of kept quiet?
No, I mean it was just we were just talking like normal. But I just feel like it's sort of like the conversation that you and I had recently about being around someone's parents who are conservative / uptight. And having to edit the way that you talk when you don't know somebody that well, and you haven't kind of unpacked what kind of a person they are, and you're kind of like, where did you grow up? Do you have any siblings? Tell me more about what you do for work. Like there are a lot of pleasantries being exchanged, and sometimes I'm kind of looking to the other person to be like, set the tone here for me.
Yeah,
because I can be unedited or highly edited, even if down the road we can be ourselves.
Sure.
Like, I understand that right now this is we're going to be a little stilted.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to feel the room.
Feel that, yeah.
You know?
Read that damn room.
Read that damn room.
Read
yes.
that damn room. But no,
I say
it was,
feel because, like I said, my brain's a little little crushed right now.
well, you feel it. You
yeah,
feel it.
you do. You feel it. You read it. You,
Close your eyes. Just feel that wall. How's it feel? Does it want to cuss? Yeah, it does.
It's like you're not gonna walk into some like fancy cocktail party and be like, "What the fuck is up?" Like that. Yeah,
well, I
there's
would with,
yeah,
this,
with the right people,
with the right company.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's just again, it's just like it's an anthropological study.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm on a date, but I'm also studying us, both of us, myself too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
No,
I'll be back with more intel as I gather it. Everybody.
I like the idea of a book. I like the idea of a Have Such a Good Day book, because then we could talk about all this kind of stuff. In fact, I have a really fun grassroots marketing idea for our show, but I'm not going to tell you guys quite yet, but I'll tell you offline, Sarah.
Cool story, Heather.
So as you know, Sarah,
Yes,
that I like horror movies.
I do,
and
yes.
I know how you feel about horror movies, but I finally saw the remake of Suspiria last night. I mean, this is the same director who did Call Me by Your Name last a year or two ago. Luca something, really beautiful filmmaker.
Oh, the Italian movie.
The Italian movie.
Yeah.
Very, very different movies. A lot of
Sure.
like similar.
That was not a horror movie.
No. Like in terms of like genres, very, very different. But there was like some shooting styles that were really interesting, at least similar. Really good movie. I loved it. It made me think about like there's watching.
Pardon the fire engines, by the way. I guess something's on fire around here.
If you didn't hear the fire engines, you're hearing birds chirp. So
yeah, well,
background noise.
They're used to it. We're on your porch half the time.
This is true.
So,
at least it's not a helicopter.
It's like we're Snow White and the birds are chirping and they just love us.
Because we're having such a good day.
That's right.
So this is not news that horror movies soothe people. People have said this before. This is like, it's like a psychological thing. There is something about, I've been revisiting a lot of old classic horror movies lately. Like The Omen and The Shining and Nightmare on Elm Street, some of my favorites from like back in the day.
Yeah.
And there's something about it. I'm just get excited about watching a horror movie over again, or just maybe for the first time.
Because you remember like maybe the age you were when you first saw it, and it kind of harkens back to
exactly
the excitement that you had at the time.
Yeah. And then the person you're watching it with, this is so interesting to me. Like so it's like you have this sort of like, heavy duty experience watching a horror movie with someone more than maybe another type of movie. It's almost like you, I don't know, you're doing something that's like adrenaline based.
Yeah,
and
blood
it's like,
pressure.
Yeah, so it makes it more of a concrete memory because you're like, oh, I remember watching that movie with you and you were scared.
An intense couple
it's
hours.
It's an intensity thing. But yeah, so I came across a study on Vice.com basically saying that like a lot of anxious people find sort of a self-medicating thing with horror movies. And I thought, that's interesting. I wouldn't call myself a super anxious person. I don't think I have a diagnosis of like the generalized anxiety disorder or anything like that.
I wouldn't say that
I have
about
anxious
you.
days,
Sure.
obviously.
Yeah.
But there is something that I feel when I'm watching one or when I'm about to, I get giddy about it. And I feel like, and I was like, I got to read about this. This is so fascinating to me. Like, what is the psychological impact of what is it doing to my brain to make me feel sort of at ease? And so I read this Vice article and this journalist talked to this Danish doctor who's been studying this for like 15 years. So there's some interesting anecdotes. There's like a fight or flight response, but you're in a controlled environment. So it's almost like it takes your brain out of your own petty like anxieties. So it's kind of like, instead of being worried about like, your IRS bill or taking out the garbage, it's like you're worrying about ghosts and goblins and if Mike Myers is going to pop out of your closet. It's like stuff that's like, it doesn't really happen. So it's like it takes you out of your brain.
It's an escape.
It's an escape. Yeah. I mean, it's escapism in general, but I wanted to, it's like, there's something about this. It's like a negative emotion, but it like turns positive in a way because it kind of, it helps your brain
it's
sort of
strong
process.
enough that you actually are out of your your own like personal hell of like real life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's part of it. I really do, because escapism is a huge part of it. But there is a weird obsession about like this. Suspiria is about witches, but it's a subtle, it's not like this over the top, like witch movie. It's a subtle,
Right.
Like they don't have
It's
pointed
a
hats.
subtle witch movie.
Yeah.
They're chill witches.
No, but it's like it's like
They don't have hats.
and they don't have like pointed noses and whatever. But what's really funny?
No witches brew in Suspiria Part 2.
You know what's funny though? You should see it, because Tilda Swinton plays 3 characters. It's crazy, and she plays this old man. I mean, it's a trip.
Oh,
it is.
yeah,
It's a
I actually
fascinating movie.
I did hear about this. I didn't realize what movie you were talking about. So much of this stuff is just like,
I know.
I'm not gonna watch it.
I mean, there are some gruesome. Oh man, there's a one scene that scarred me for life. I mean, it's
great.
not real though. You know that this like couldn't happen, so it's kind of like you're confined in this controlled environment, watching something that's removed from you. Anyway, and then just having that crazy experience with someone there's something just really special about it, and I love it. I'm so into it. Anyway.
I love it for you. I know that I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Even though I don't share it.
You can like wrap your head around it.
Yeah. Like I know that feeling. I'm trying to think of like, I'm not sure if there's like a film genre that does that for me.
Game of Thrones, maybe.
There are things that do it for me.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, I mean,
it's possible.
Me and the rest of the world, but
it's pretty horrific.
But like that's not. I mean, that's my least favorite part of it. Quite honestly,
of course,
it's just sort of part of the show. But I know what you mean. Like the adrenaline rush of just being like so excited for something that is just going to make you feel good temporarily.
I know it does.
Yeah.
It does. It's cool. I'm probably gonna watch
like
another
nitrous
one tonight.
oxide.
It is kind of. You're right. Like it's like a little quick hit.
It's a little
stuff.
balloon at Coachella, but it's a horror movie.
Speaking of horror movies, actually, I wanted to shout out Brett Stewart wrote us a comment on one of my posts on Patreon. So this wasn't an actual email, but he said, great episode. This was from episode 41, or the last one we posted. Is Heather aware of the Wicker Man remake? That's a dumpster fire for the ages. And yes, Brett, I am aware. In fact, I have not seen it, only because I've been told that it is a dumpster fire. I want to see it though, because I loved the original Wicker Man so much. I want to see. I know the interpretation's really different, so I'm going to see it. I'm going to report back. So thanks for writing in. And Kevin Silverman also wrote us a note on patreon.com/havesuchagoodday. Sarah, have you ever test driven a Tesla car? It's a mind-blowing experience. I've had a Model 3 since September, and it's changed and saved my life.
Well, isn't that nice for you, Kevin? But no, all kidding aside, a friend of mine doesn't have it anymore. He actually sold it for a pretty penny, I might add, but had a Model S real early on, and there was a time where I was between cars, and I borrowed it a few times, and did like freeway driving and city driving and all the driving, and was like, this is, if I had the coin, which I don't, sadly, and the lease options are few and far between, but there are some, but I would have one. I would absolutely have one. I also don't have a good charging situation. I never have. I'm a renter. It just depends on your lifestyle. But Kevin, I'm jealous.
Me too.
I would love a Model 3. It's actually a better size for me than the S.
I agree.
And going forward in the future, it's always an option.
Hey, maybe if we earn enough money producing Have Such a Good Day, we can both rent Teslas.
Yeah, and but
how about that?
Yes. And on that note, for anybody who is unfamiliar with the show, real quick, patreon.com is how Heather and I make our bread and butter. It is community supported 100%. We have the choice of having ads in the show, and we've decided as long as we can, we don't want to. We want to do this our way with the help of all of you. So if you're considering being a patron for as little as $1 a month, goes up from there. You can donate as much as you want, but as little as $1 per every 30 to 31 days, not a lot of coin, you can be part of our community, and we thank you in advance. Please join the flock, as Twitter would say, if you so desire.
So I think we're going to wrap here, and $5 patrons, please stick around. I know I don't either. It went by so fast.
I guess you have to be a $5 patron for the show to continue. I don't want it to end. But yes, $5 and up patrons, stick around. Bonus topic coming up next. For everybody else, you've been the best. We love you so much, and let's all do this again next week.
Absolutely.
This was a good date.
It was real fun. Real good time.
Until next time, I'm Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And have such a good day.